Guess who got brands talking? Brandlife.co.za.
Welcome to the Financial Independence Coach, naturally creating freedom, meaning, and wealth. Brought to you by Yefel Pty Ltd, in association with brandlife.co.za. And here is your host and coach, Yvonne E. Van Tonder.
Good morning, Brand Life streamers and Jeffel subscribers. It has been almost 3 months since our first show, and since our guests could not attend today to talk about tax and the effect of the proposed NHI, I thought it appropriate that we do a review of our quarter milestone, a review of our guest featured here on the show, the messages, or rather the lessons each of our guests came to share with us. Our lifetime is filled with cycles, the same ebb and flow of the ocean as the ocean. It's the rhythm of nature. Most of us don't even realize or recognize these flows in our own lives, as we are so busy chasing the rhythm of the standard norm. And although on some very small level in our pursuit for the norm, we might still in a small way be heading in the direction of our purpose. We discard the hints and signs of nature. We neglect to observe the stop signs and the red lights on our path that we are on. Those signs that are there to protect us, to bring our attention back, to bring us back to our true nature. Each of our guests over the past 3 months told us about these red lights and stop signs in their own lives, which was not so much the end of a journey, but rather a pause to re-examine the direction of our own lives. An opportunity, so to speak, to stop and consult with our internal GPS on the direction our lives are heading in. Take, for instance, Dr. John F Demartini. It was a near-death experience at the age of 17 that led him to the teachings of his mentor, which changed the course of his life, from being a high school dropout to where he is today, a PhD in behavioral science, traveling the world and teaching others what he has learned. Or Dr. Michell, who herself experienced abuse and the long-suffering effects, or rather the psychological impact on her emotions as a result of it, her mindset, to where she is today, financially independent, with a PhD in leadership. Or Lyn Van Rooyen, a qualified nurse who was so impacted by the sight and facts of HIV that she built herself up in a corporate non-profit to help change the lives of those affected and touched by HIV and AIDS within the churches, to where she is today, a leader in carrying the flag for First Days and Back, a silent protest, a association, a caring, a movement for those who have suffered and those who still suffer in abuse. Or Barry Mitchell, who has failed university, then built a career in sales, built a company, just to find himself cut out from what he has built, a major red life in his life, which made him open to one of the greatest opportunities in life. Today he has the privilege to study with some of the masters of our time and train others in the same teachings. Retief and Colleen Qvest, both coaches and mentors, now in leadership roles at Comensa, had their individual red lights and stop signs that made them aware of the path they were on and gave them the opportunity to rethink their direction. Jan de Beer had several in his life and could have taken the wrong direction on numerous occasions. Sometimes, with a detour, just missed a downhill cliff, but always took the time to rethink and adjust. These are but a few examples of individuals who took the opportunity of a red light or stop sign in their lives to change direction, to change the path they were traveling on. Individuals, humans just like you and me, at different ages, different backgrounds, different cultural upbringings, all in their own right, could have ignored what life tried to show them and could have moved in a totally different direction. But all turned back to their true nature and found their personal values and built their freedom, their meaning, their wealth, while pursuing the purpose and passion in their own lives. Over the past 22 years in the financial industry, I have been gratefully privileged to the teachings and studies of the inner workings of finance, the vehicles, the products, the legislation. But it was only after I stepped outside of the box of the financial industry that I found the true wealth of knowledge and the proof of my then, which was only a wildly imagined theory, of what it really is to be financially independent and how to achieve it. Over the past 6-7 years, I have attended every possible workshop, seminar, webinar, networking opportunity to learn and to observe, not just the presenters and the content of what they presented, but the attendees as well. I've offered my services as coach for free to observe individuals on a one-on-one basis in the aim to better understand the gap that needs to be bridged to enable an individual to change their mindset, rather unschool or reprogram their nurturing to allow the true nature of an individual to take a purposeful and passionate new direction in life. And by true nature, we learn the best from our mistakes. Yes, I've also made several in my life. And although some of us have to repeat certain lessons more than once, yet, through it all, from all the interviews and all the one-on-one sessions recorded with individuals, the workshops, the seminars, the webinars, the courses I've attended, I've observed a few common factors in all these situations and circumstances that led to the individual's decision to observe and acknowledge the red light or stop street in their life, or just to continue on their current path, regardless. But in the end, it boils all down to the universal three questions: why, what, and when. A lot of people think about the fourth one, but never get to it. And we'll get to it a bit later. Why should we change or develop ourselves? What should we change or develop within ourselves? And when should we do this? Let's start with why. Well, why not? Why be stuck in the same routine of hating traffic, disliking our job, wishing the minutes, the hours, the days away to our next break, the next weekend, the next holiday. Ask yourself, is it worth having a JOB, or rather, a just over broke, that just provides enough not to satisfy your physical and emotional needs? Or could there be more to life? What should we change or develop? What in our lives are not satisfying? What does not make us happy? What is holding us back? When? There's no better time than the present. Yesterday is gone, and tomorrow is but a dream. There's an old saying, a Chinese proverb, of to enjoy the shade of a tree today, somebody had to plant a tree 20 years ago. But to provide that shade for future generations, we should plant a tree today. It is only when we actually take notice, actually observe our life, that we can make the changes, that we can ask the whys, that we can ask the whats, we can choose the whens. And unfortunately, a lot of times, a lot of us get stuck on the fourth question, the how. How do we do this? How do we move forward? How can we change? How can we develop ourselves when what we want to develop, what we want to change, seems out of our reach? In our discussion last week with Barry, we referred to the fact of entrepreneurs that have written books about entrepreneurship. And when asking Barry with regards to how to further move forward, he suggested that they attend one of his workshops. They suddenly couldn't get past the fact of being able to pay the price ticket associated with it. Now, in a lot of lives, that is a common truth. Most of us can't see past that price ticket that we need to pay to develop, to move forward. Most of us get stuck on the fact that we suddenly have to take extra time out of our day, out of our already busy schedules, to learn more, to do more, when we already feel as if we have so much on our plates. Yet it's only when we acknowledge what we've got and what is of value to us, true value to us, not just busy because we are busy, not just building a busyness and keeping ourselves attained through the day with all kinds of small insignificance, but actually taking the time to reassess where we are, what we've got, and where we're going. It brings us back to knowing our numbers. It's only once we know our numbers and we can identify the areas where Parkinson's law affects us that we can start to curb it. Whether it is on our time, whether it's on our money. But it's only once we observe what we do with that time and money that we can move forward. These days up here in Joburg, there's quite a few workshops going on. Property investment, investment seminars, meeting the financial managers of the different funds, the wealth coaches even in town at the moment. And a lot of people are interested in attending. But so few realize that these workshops ain't going to give you a quick fix. These workshops are not there to miraculously wind a wand around and provide you the freedom to suddenly just do as you please. In all the examples of all the lives that has been interviewed on the show, the one-on-one interviews I have done off air, the research I have done of other masters and gurus and mentors, in all those lives, there's a huge, huge, huge time period in between the moment that that red light has been observed and the moment when they realized they've actually achieved success. Hardly any of the mentors really tell you about the late nights that they stayed up, working extra, working as if somebody else was working 24/7 to bring them down. They don't tell you about the weekends that they've sacrificed. They don't tell you about the redos and redos and redos that they had to do several times over to eventually find the formula that worked with their true natural self. Many of these mentors provide workshops and give you a system to work with. But the same as the workshops I've attended and stayed in contact with several of the attendees, very few of us actually take that material and go and implement it into our lives after the workshop. A lot of people have quoted and mentioned that knowledge is power. But it's only once we imply that knowledge that we really obtain power. That we really have the ability to change what is in front of us. And that's how we get to the how. But first, we are going to take an ad break and we'll speak to you guys afterwards.
Brandlife.co.za is Thought Leadership Radio. It's a new way to communicate your brand, your value, and what you think about your industry. Be a leader.
You'll never stop at one. I'll take you all on.
Be your voice.
I have a dream.
And we will help you shape your industry. Our radio platform is for thought leaders who want to share insights, businesses who want to create value for their databases, organizations who want to control their message, for those that drive change. Make your brand come alive on brandlife.co.za, harnessing the power of talk radio.
The Dramatic Talk with myself, Bongani Drama, bringing you insightful conversations on the Convo Corner, your latest celebrity news on Dramatainment, and your latest fashion news on Fashion Fed.
This is Bongani.
And myself, Rose Rataha, bringing you your latest news and sports updates.
Every Wednesdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Only on www.brandlife.co.za.
And we're back. On brandlife.co.za, the Financial Independence Coach, brought to you by Yeffel Pty Ltd. Before the ad break, we were discussing the how to change. I was talking about keeping in contact with attendees of workshops and, in a way, monitoring what they are doing with the knowledge they have learned at the workshops. A lot of attendees are hyped on the excitement of the information, the knowledge gathered at the workshops. But as the time elapses after the workshop, or the seminar, or the course, they kind of like fall back. They don't implement what they have learned. It becomes a schlep. Psychology tells us through quite a few scientific experiments that has been done over the years, from Pavlov's dogs to observing addicts in rehabilitation centers, that yes, it takes 21 days to break a habit. But very few people realize that to rebuild or to build a new neural pathway takes more than just that 21 days. And if we don't continue for at least 90 days rebuilding a new habit, our brains have got the ability to try and protect itself, to go back to that broken pathway and rather rebuild that than to try and construct the new one out of the bits and pieces that we fed it. A lot of the times, our subconscious plays a big role on this as well. All of the mentors that have been featured and that I have researched speak in some way or form of that little voice, that little devil sitting on your shoulder, that doubtfulness, that, oh, no, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I can't. Maybe I don't know enough yet to proceed. That little nagging doubtfulness that keeps us behind. Those are one of the things that falls under the what that needs to be changed. But it's only once we start looking into the how, the fourth question, that we can effectively actually change, that we can effectively develop ourselves to move forward. Only once we re-examine where we are now and what we are doing, how we are acting, what is our habits, whether it's habits with socializing or habits at work, or even how we habitually spend our money or not spend our money, all comes down to habits. And when we take our habits, observe them, track them, and notice what are those that bring us down and which are those that take us up, can we effectively decide which to change? It's only once we determine what our real values are. And I'm not talking about the standard norm of being honest, being ethical, being on time, although on time can be a value for some people. But what is your personal values? What are the things in life that you value more than any other? It's only once you start pulling your personal values closer to yourself, observing your habits, taking note of it, tracking it, recording it, observing it, that we can effectively choose what to change. Why do we want to change it? When do we want to change it? And then we start doing the how to change it. Once we have naturally observed in our own nature what is our energy rhythms, and start managing that instead of trying to manage time, because let's face it, none of us can manage time. Doesn't matter how much we try, we cannot press a pause button on a watch and say, okay, well, stop now. I need a breather. Time goes on. It does not wait for any of us. But how we effectively use our energy and use our time, that we can change. How we record information, how we relay the information, how we go back and review from where we have come to what we are currently doing to what we want to achieve. It all comes down back to that, what do we want to have? What do we have to become? To be. And then only the doing comes into play. Now, through the years, I have worked with several mentors and several different systems, and found that some do work for me, where some and others don't. Working with clients, coaching them, mentoring them, some systems do work better for others. NLP, for instance, will work on some individuals, where hypnosis is more effective on others. Subliminal therapy might work on others. But there's always that natural being that you have to be sure of what is in their nature before you can decide to implement any of these strategies. Are you a pictures person with vision boards? Or are you an analytical person who needs to write everything meticulously down? It's only once we acknowledge our true nature and know where we want to go, what our purpose is, and where our passions lie, that we can develop ourselves to further our pursuit for that passionate purpose, to move forward. Only then can we effectively start building on our independence. And once we start building on our independence, only effectively then we can achieve our financial freedom. That's why I always say, first find out what is your own nature. Then find out what is the order that is needed in your own life to create freedom. What is the culture that we need to cultivate? Who do we need to cultivate that cultures with? The relationships. To create the meaning in our life. It's only when we bring all of these in a line that we can start observing the abundance of wealth. And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about a wealth in knowledge, a wealth in experience, a wealth in life itself. For more of us to be multi-billionaires might not be the purpose that we are trying to pursue. For some, charitable work is the thing. I mean, take Mother Teresa, for instance. Her passion was people and helping them grow. Where some of our other gurus and mentors in our day and age have the same passion and purpose. But for them, the glitz and glamour is more important than what it ever was for her. It is only once we truly take note, truly observe these factors that we can build moving forward. Now, on my website, I have several worksheets that can assist you in finding this answers for yourself, or via our Facebook page. There's free resources and worksheets, and some, if you would like to negotiate on the price, I'm always more than willing, in pursuit of my research, to negotiate a price that is fair to you, even if it does boil down to a fair trade agreement. But for this week, that is all from us, from the Financial Independence Coach, here on brandlife.co.za, broadcasting from the most beautiful gardens in 27 boxes in Melville. I say shalom.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za